Hi Thrivers. I want to talk about something that's coming up everywhere right now, silent divorce. But I'm going to say something a little different than what you're probably hearing. Most people are not staying in a silent divorce because of love. They're staying because they don't see what's happening. They're staying because they don't understand the financial reality. And once you see this, you can't unsee it. When people talk about silent divorce, they usually describe it as two people living like roommates. No connection, no communication, and yes, that's real. But what I see in my world, working with people every single week, is something deeper. I'm Tammy Wallensack, a divorce mortgage specialist with over 30 years experience, and I'm here to help you make smart home decisions while you're navigating your divorce. I'm so glad you're here. I see people who know something isn't right, but they feel stuck. Not emotionally, but financially. There's a moment in a lot of relationships where everything looks fine from the outside. You're functioning, you're showing up, you're doing what needs to be done. But internally, something feels off. And instead of making a big decision, you quietly start asking yourself questions. Not out loud, just in your own head. What would my life look like if things changed? And here's the part no one really talks about. That question doesn't feel emotional, it feels logistical. In my work as a divorce mortgage specialist, I sit in conversations all the time with people trying to answer one question. Can I actually afford to move forward? And what's keeping them stuck isn't always the relationship, it's the unknown. Because once that question starts, it doesn't go away, it gets louder. Can I keep the house? Would I qualify on my own? What happens with support? And if you don't have those answers, your brain pauses. Let's talk about why this happens. In a lot of relationships, one person ends up handling the finances. Not always intentionally, it just kind of evolves that way over time. And the other person becomes less connected to the details. Not incapable, just not fully informed. Now, this shows up differently for different people, but it leads to the same place. For many women, especially if they step back from the workforce, there was never really a conversation around compensation. They contributed in ways that don't show up on paper. Renting a home, raising children, supporting a partner's career, and then one day, they're trying to answer questions like, do I even qualify for a mortgage? What does support actually look like? Can I afford to stay in this home? For many men, the pressure looks different, but it feels just as heavy. They've been carrying the financial responsibility. They haven't had to map out what separation actually means. Two households, support obligations, dividing everything they've built, and suddenly the question becomes, can I afford what happens next? Different experiences, same feeling, uncertainty. Here's the truth. You can be equal partners in a marriage and still be completely in the dark financially. And when that happens, you don't feel free to make a decision. You feel stuck. And this is why silent divorce lasts longer than people expect. Not because someone doesn't see what's happening, but because they don't see a clear path forward. So they stay, they coexist, they wait, not out of weakness, but out of uncertainty. And I want to be really clear about something. I'm not here to tell anyone to leave their marriage. That's not my role. My role is to help people understand their options. Because when you understand your financial reality, everything changes. Not your situation overnight, but your relationship to it. You stop guessing, you stop assuming, you start understanding. And once you have that clarity, you don't have to rush into anything, but you're also not stuck anymore. If you've even started to ask yourself, what would this look like for me? Start with information, not fear, not assumptions, just information. I created a guide that walks you through what happens with the house, the finances, and your options during a divorce. You can find the link below. Because this is the piece almost no one explains clearly. And I want to leave you with this. You're not stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because you don't have all the information yet. And once you do, you may not have every answer, but you finally have a way forward. Thrivers, I'll see you in the next video.